So what I've got is a slideshow. It's like going on holidays, and you have like holiday pictures, but these are pictures from like the last 15 years of working in various different places. So this is a place I went to university, a place called the Centre for Alternative Technology in Wales. Just not too far from here. Very inspirational place to learn about energy. So let's see if this clicker works. Let's see. Point at who? Oh. There we go. Okay, so before we talk about renewable energy, we have to talk about the bad boys, right? Oil, gas, coal, and oops, here we go. Rewind. Yeah, oil, gas, coal, and I've actually also included in that peat. So in Ireland, we've got like lots of peat, and for years, I used to have to light the fires every day with peat, and it's pretty bad. So this is the challenge. About 3/4 of all greenhouse gas emissions comes from these three sources of energy. And what we have to do is we have to rapidly decrease the amount of energy we consume pretty much to zero and move to renewable energy. Next slide, please. Oh, yeah, I know.
Except it's not working.
Hang on. One sec. Beautiful assistant here.
Hang on.
There we go. I'll just keep talking. Oh, there we go. Question: what is renewable energy? Any takers? Anybody? Bueller? Oh, who said that? Wind. But what is actually renewable energy? What's the definition? Blank faces. Oh, here we go. Go for it.
Something that renews itself in the same time frame as it is used, which means not wood.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Fergal, just motion to me and I'll do it. Just motion to me and I'll do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next. Put this down. Okay, so it's anything that actually replenishes itself in human time. We normally think that's 10 years is the kind of the given. So the main types that we've got comes into a couple of different categories. But in terms of the amount of actual energy that we've got in our world system, could actually power the whole world in half an hour, even just solar itself. So this is an idea how much energy hits the Earth every year. So over 3,000 times the amount of energy that we actually use as humans, and that comes primarily from the sun. We've got wind energy, biomass, geothermal, and it's plenty of energy to go around, and all we have to do is harness it. Oh, next. There we go. There we go. He's too busy eating. So what we got, the renewable energy sources, we've got direct, indirect, and we've got non-solar renewable. So direct is anything that comes from the sun. So solar irradiance, passive solar gains. Indirect is the sun heats up the ground heats up the air creates wind. We get wind energy. The sun heats up the ground. We get moisture. We get rain. We get hydroelectricity. And the third type we have is non-solar, which is geothermal, which is from inside the ground, which is it's uranium actually cooling down over millions of years. And we've got tidal. Next. I'm liking this. Okay, so there's lots of different renewables. I'm going to focus mainly a lot on solar and wind, and later heat pumps. So solar is the fastest growing renewable energy source in the world. The price has come down 99.97% since 1950s, when they first were using it, a 1 watt panel in space with NASA. Solar you can deploy anywhere. It's quick, it's cheap, it's affordable, it's fast. Next. You're going to be busy. Got 50 slides to fly through. Yeah.
You just said the quickest.
Oh, sorry. No. I've got 50 slides. Keep the questions late. Yeah. So, solar, right? We've got second most abundant substance in the world, Si, which is sand. Silicon is a main type of solar. It's quick to deploy. Next. So we've got lots of different types. We've got thin film, we've got monocrystal, we've got polycrystal. We've got new solar that's actually, you can even print it. We've got ones that you can put onto windows. It's very versatile. The technologies, we've just lost the power. We're back again. It's very versatile. So it's one of the game changers that actually is happening right now. The future, this is a concentrated solar, and it gives a vast amount of energy. You have to have it in very, very sunny places, and you have thousands of these mirrors, and it reflects all the sun into one spot, superheats molten sands, and you can produce energy during the day, during the night. Quite amazing technology. They're building quite a lot of these. We've got a solar trough down here, which superheats a glyco solution that drives a turbine to generate electricity. It's pretty good. We've got solar cars now. They're actually designed with no batteries in them. So they have solar races every year. So there's lots of stuff happening with solar. So this is AgroSolar. It's got a couple of different names. They haven't quite decided exactly which is called, but basically what you're doing is you're combining agriculture and you're combining solar at the same time. So you're putting a solar plant above where you're actually growing plants. Works really well. It provides shading. It actually cools down the solar panels themselves, so the solar produces more energy. There's certain crops that actually grow better under partial shading like this. So the likes of what's happening in Ukraine, we've got we're talking about the rebuilding program, and there's a big push about, hopefully after the war, of like how we're going to rebuild. And they've got so much agricultural land that we can use for combining biomass with solar and not affect the actual farming system. So these are things to watch out for in the future. They're actually building these now. So hydroelectricity has been providing energy for a vast amount of energy for like a long time. It's reliable, it's big, and if you can get a good hydro power plant into place, like Norway gets most of its energy from hydro. Next. So quite simple. You build a big, huge, massive dam, and you build up a head of pressure. You have a height difference between where the water is and where the water is flowing. You stick a turbine in between. You can switch it on, switch it off when you need the electricity. Water is really dense, so it packs a lot of power and a lot of energy into it. And over a course of a period of a power plant, it's actually very, very cheap. So it's a picture of me. Da-da, da-da, da-da. This is in the second largest hydro plant in Brazil. We got a VIP guided tour. And while we were there, had some interesting conversations with the engineers. And this whole plant is running on 18% capacity because of the problems with the rain. So there's a huge problem with droughts and rains. And also big hydro plants, they can actually cause carbon emissions. They build up of organic matter, decomposes, it causes methane. Certain hot countries, and depending on the type, it can be a big problem. But the biggest problem is also fish. It can just absolutely decimate like fish populations and everything. So there's a bit of a move away from big hydro plants because they're actually the environmental damage it does to actual places. But we've got a solution. Ta-da! Small hydro, micro hydro, amazing. All right, this one here is 1.5 meters. You could do a little, if you've got a stream in your house and you just divert it, build a nice little platform, goes down 1.5 meters and power your home when it's nice and rainy. Small hydro, they're starting to put into places. I know Froome's got one, so it's actively running. Lots of potential in the UK for small hydro. It's good because it doesn't upset the fish, it doesn't upset the flow of the river, and it's not very environmental damaging, and it puts really good, really good energy. Next one. Wind. Right, we've all seen those beautiful, nice big wind turbines. Some people don't like them. I think they're quite amazing. This is more pictures. This is in Portugal. This is the size. This is a 3 megawatt wind turbine. The way wind works is it's kinetic energy. So the wind blows. You use a little bit of electrical energy to actually get the motor starting, right, to kick it off. And when the wind speed goes over a certain wind speed, it kicks in, starts moving, and you have positive and negative pressure hitting the wind blades. As it hits the wind blades, it creates lift. And what happens is a wind turbine actually flies. When they're actually rotating, they're actually flying around in the air, which is quite amazing. The big ones, some of the blades tip speeds is at like 150 miles an hour. It's quite crazy. So yeah, give you an idea of scale, right? These are the latest wind turbines that are getting built in the UK. You can see it's Haliad is it's actually they've got one that's this is 12 meter, but they've got one that's now 14 megawatts, which is absolutely massive. So you can see it here, and the scale is like it dwarfs the London Eye. You know, like Big Ben. It's 3 times taller. It's nearly as big as the Eiffel Tower, and these wind turbines that they're building now, they're so efficient because the wind speed's higher up, it's consistent, and they can rotate even at a slower wind speed. These are like absolutely amazing. They're getting built. Yeah, so this is the future. We've also got now in the UK, we've got our first floating wind farms are going in at the moment. So beauty about floating wind is you can actually build it, construct it on land, and then once it's ready, you just drag it out to wherever you want it, get some diver to go down and put a big anchor into the ground and just tie it in. It's great. They work on similar technology to floating oil platforms, so good use of like transferable technology skills there going on there. There's a couple of different designs. The price of these are coming down. It makes it they're actually now quite cheap. They're actually compete with traditional forms of energy production. Next. So they're planning to build this Dogger Bank, which is an artificial island in the North Sea. A couple of different countries involved, Denmark, Norway, Holland. So this here is a place where when you're producing all the energy, all the cables then go in onto the island where there's a substation, and then from here, then it goes back to the mainland. So you've got there's several different designs at the moment, but Dogger Bank is actually, it's a very shallow area in the North Sea. And the thing is, you can then have floating wind turbines, you can drag them in for getting serviced, you can have your boats for servicing the wind turbines. It just makes everything more energy efficient and a lot cheaper. Okay, biomass. Anybody got any biomass? What do people think of biomass? There we go. I didn't hear you. Bit more energy. There we go. So biomass is pretty much, the first renewable energy we've ever had. Man, fire, well, women, fire, And traditionally you get a tree, you chop it down. After like 20, 30, 50 years, it grows back again. It's worked for centuries. Problem we've got now is the different types of biomass. We got a dodgy place in the UK where it burns vast amount of biomass from imported woods that we don't even know if it's recyclable and where they come from. Massive amount of energy bringing it over, and then also biomass, it produces all these air particles. There's lots of different air particles. So it is problematic if you have the right type of fuel and the right type of burner, and it comes from a sustainable source. It's quite good, but the only problem is trying to get the amount of volume that you need. But biomass is actually used quite a lot around the world, so it's actually not going away. There's different types. There's the main one in actually the UK is we use a lot of from waste in sewage systems. We use a lot of that for generating energy. We've got waste to energy, which is you've got it basically pretty much where your rubbish goes, a dump, and decomposing food makes methane. You cap it, we get energy from waste from that. So that's landfill. There's ethanol is used quite a lot in South America and Brazil. They fuel cars. You can fill up your car on ethanol. It grows really fast over there, so debatable. It's probably there it works. Most countries it doesn't. So we're talking about green gas and anaerobic digestion. But just a quick talk on electricity from biomass. So some of the things we're trying to focus on now, instead of actually combustion, which is a traditional way, and then you drive an engine for creating electricity, we're looking at using gasification and also pyrolysis, word I can't say very well, which means you kind of get rid of oxygen, you superheat it to about 500 Celsius, and you break up the complex structure of the biomass into smaller structures, and then you can actually use it as a liquid for gas for vehicles and lots of different things. So they're working quite a lot on these kind of technologies at the moment. So we're going to see more of this in the future. Oh, next one. Yeah, so this is anaerobic digestion. There's a company in the UK, Ecotricity, are talking about trying to get the whole country powered by green gas. It's very debatable. Luckily nobody here is from there right now, so I can criticise it. You need a lot of grass to kind of do this. To put it, the concept is to get lots of grass. You cut it, you put it into anaerobic digestion. It goes in. There's low oxygen. You have some microbes that break it up. It forms methane gas, and you clean it, and then you use that to put into the existing gas system. And well, that's the theory anyway. And then you use like a hydrogen type boiler or converted boiler to burn it. But the amount of grass that you need and replacing gas with gas, I don't know if it's a good idea or not. But it can be lots of different things. Yeah. Anaerobic digestion and anything that's organic that you can break down, you can make. It can be anything. Next. So tidal. Anybody here hear about tidal? Show of hands. There we go. Right. So big debates about tidal in the UK. It comes up every couple of years. You get a vast amount of energy. We're talking water is over 800 times thicker than air. So the amount of energy it packs is vast. You know it's going to happen twice every day. It's predictable. It's reliable. They built the tidal system in France, in L'Orange, and nearly 60 years ago. And the price of energy is worked out like about 1.5 pence a kilowatt hour is the cost of tidal over a very long time. There's 3 different types. You got tidal streams, tidal barrages, and lagoons. The type they're talking about in Swansea Bay. And the beauty is the UK has the second highest tidal range in the world, and from there around the coast, because it's jagged, it means we've actually got some of the best places to site tidal if we can actually ever get through planning. And funding, funding, planning. So these are the kind of different designs we got. This one here is the one they're talking about, Swansea Bay. You build a big, massive dam. The tide comes in, you fill up the area behind it, the tide goes out, and as the tide goes out, you start generating electricity with massive turbines. The potential for tidal in the UK, in the 7 or 8 different sites, is enough to give us about 11% of our electricity on today's electrical demands. You build them, they last for about 120 years. The levelized cost of energy over like a 60-year period is way cheaper than nuclear and lots of different technologies, right? So we just really need to kind of like push and like crack on with some of this. And the other thing is, when you build them, you build the first one, the next one you build, the actual price will come down in the third one, because you're learning as you go, and it just makes everything cheaper and more efficient. So wave. This is interesting. Had a friend working up in Auckland Island on wind and wave technology, and they had about 160 different prototypes they were working on. And we haven't got there with wave yet. It's huge potential. Every day there's waves. If we can crack this technology, it's going to be a game changer. The problem with it is obviously you've got something in continuously getting bombarded by the sea, and with salt water, highly corrosive. But quite simply how it works, some of them is like have an anchor in the bottom, and you have a buoy that goes up and down with the wave. And quite simply, it's just you got a little generator at the bottom, and you run cables back to land. Theoretically it works very well, but we still haven't got there on like kind of what exact design we want. Deep geothermal, right, another bit of a game changer. It'll give us continuous energy. So the problem with renewable energy is most of it's intermittent. So the wind's not always going to shine, and it's not always going to be sunny. So we've got these problems of peak demands, and this is one of the things. Oh, we need gas, we need coal, we need nuclear, we need baseline energy. Deep geothermal is is another way we can get reliable energy. This is in Cornwall. It's 3 miles deep, so a big, massive hole they dig down. They actually dig 2 of them. They put water down, or like a form of a glycol solution, but I think this one's water. And it steams the water, it comes up, drives the turbine. Very efficient, but the only problem is it's very site-specific, exactly where you can put it. So I think there's another plans for about like 20 of these sites down in Devon, Cornwall area. So the other big problem as well with this technology, or problem in the UK, full stop, is grid connection. Okay, so we've got wind projects that are waiting. They've been told up to 13 years to get grid connection license, which is, you know, are we in a climate emergency? Where's the sense of urgency? You know, it's like 13 years to get something connected to the grid. It's like absolutely crazy. Problem with geothermal is actually where it's sited as well, that there's not enough grid connection going to these different places. But if we can crack it, there's some schemes they're looking at, like I've heard out recently of in the States, that they want to build like literally thousands of these, you know, and they've got like a different design that goes out and it splits and it comes back up, and it's all closed loop systems and everything. So could be a game changer, but it's also expensive. So watch this space. I like this. Right, this is my favorite. Has anybody heard of ocean thermal energy conversion? There we go. Where's a chocolate bar for you? There we go. There we go. Right, this. Oh no! I couldn't take the chocolate bar back. No. Here you go. You can keep it. All right. Okay. So this works on the temperature difference between the water and the sea at the top. You go down a couple of 100 meters, it gets chilly. You probably had this on your beach. You go, oh, it's nice and warm. You dip your toe in. They go, great. You go for a swim, and as soon as you kind of get in, it starts getting cooler. It's like, ugh. This is pretty much the same principle, except we're talking about like, you know, 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet difference that you need. And what you do is you pump down another like a glyco solution, which is like kind of an antifreeze. This one, I think they use ammonia. And so it goes down. When it goes down nice and deep, the water's cooler and the water's hotter at the top. So you need like about 20 degrees difference. So using the temperature difference, you take out some of the energy and you put it into like a giant heat pump, and you bring that energy onto land, and you use it to drive a traditional turbine. Oh, sorry. There we go. Yeah. So traditional turbine. They've got one or two prototypes in place. Again, this hasn't been cracked because it's expensive, the scale of investment that you need. But in certain countries, especially in warmer countries, vast amount of energy. Like we're talking like, you know, vast amount of energy that's untapped, could easily be used. Also, when you actually bring up water and you get this water circulation from the deep down and up, it actually brings up nutrients from the deep down as well. So it's actually very good for plant life and phytoplankton and the whole kind of like little tiny things we can't see. I put in this one here, which is passive cooling. They've got this in Denmark. You got pipes that's going into the sea. Quite simple. You bring the cold water from the sea, you pump it around your buildings. It chills the buildings, and you pump the water back down to the sea. And it's just it's called passive cooling. Works really well. Very cheap, very reliable. Okay, transportation. Anybody here got an electric car? There we go. Let's see who wants to. Ready? Oh, nearly took his head off. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, is it? There we go. See the future. Renewable, it's good.
By the way, people, we've got very limited energy, so if we can go through the slides first, questions after and comments.
Yeah. Okay. So, transport, future of energy. We're talking about hydrogen trucks. We're talking about flashy electric vehicles, and we're talking about electric planes. All sounds absolutely wonderful. Right, reality. We've got 1.4 billion ICE cars, which are internal combustion engine cars on the planet, cars and trucks. Replacing like for like, we're going to use a vast amount of energy, lithium, and all we're going to do is clog up our roads again. So we need to be thinking about the future. We need to be thinking about cheap, sustainable, reliable public transport that everybody wants to use. You have it in place and people will use it. These are schemes in, I think this is Denmark, Sweden again. And they integrate the cycle lanes. They have them on. You can bring your bikes onto the buses, and onto your trains and everything. And yeah, and everybody uses it. It's brilliant. So this is what we need, not more cars. Okay, and the future, the whole concept we're looking at is to have a linked up smart grid. And people talk about smart grids. They talk about this and that. What it is The problem that we've got with renewable energy is it's intermittent. So this is one of the biggest problems, engineering problems to overcome. Way of overcoming it is to spread out our base load. And to give you an example, let's say right down here, we've got a nice little electric vehicle, EV, one of your EVs. And what we're going to have with the smart grids, you plug it in and you program it that you will only start charging it when the price of electricity is down or when there's too much energy on the grid. So what you do is you then draw the electricity off the grid at maybe between 2 and 4 in the evening, or it could be like at night or whenever the electrical supplier says. And then when the price of electricity goes up, the demand goes up, and there's not enough energy on the system, there's not enough renewables being produced, then what we do is we can use the EVs to supply energy back into the grid, or your home batteries goes back into the grid, and it smooths out the curve. And this is what we need to have. We need to have like our fridges connected, we need to have our heat pumps, everything connected to a system, and they talk to each other, and we're able to balance the grid that way. So this is what we really need to be moving towards the future. Give you an idea about energy intensity. All right, so this here, you got here is the greenhouse gas emissions, a ton of CO2e equivalent per gigawatt hour. Big sentence. So what that means is how much greenhouse gas is actually emitted when you produce this particular form of energy. So we got lignite, which is a really dirty form of coal, and actually it produces over a kilo per kilowatt hour of electricity that you produce. Okay, then it comes down. So you got coal, oil, gas, and natural gas. Everyone says natural gas is a transition. You look at this, you're still getting half a kilo of CO2 emissions per kilowatt hour. So it's not actually that. It's no way near. It's a fossil fuel. It's not. We just need to completely skip that and go straight to renewables. You got solar, biomass, nuclear, hydroelectric, and wind, and you can see them. They're all like nice and low. So this is the carbon content of actually manufacturing a solar panel, running it for 30 years with an inverter. The embedded energy is worked out over a 30-year period, and that's the actual impact on the planet for carbon. So as you can see, renewables wins absolutely hands down. So where are we in the world? How are we getting on? Everyone hears about solar, they hear about wind, we've got this green transition going on, it's all great. Right, so the reality is the global primary energy consumption, 84% of it still comes from hydrocarbons, oil, gas, coal, we need to get that from 84%, we need to get that to 0 by 2050. But what we've got is, if you can see here, in 2000, it was 86.1%. So in 22 years, we've only moved the dial 1%. That's it, right? So this is the speed of energy transition that's going on. It's not quick enough. It's actually way too slow. We need to be quadrupling the amount of investment. We need to be pushing this out on all fronts, because otherwise the more energy that's being produced, they're still producing more oil and gas and coal, right? And the only way of doing that is producing more renewable energy, which is cheaper, and then we can start getting the tide turning. You can see here, solar is just 1.1, and you'll see it on the brochures of all BP and Shell, and everybody always have their greenwashing going on here. So UK, how we're doing? UK is doing slightly better than lots of other countries. Still not good enough. Just make sure I say that. So UK is getting 79.1% of all its primary energy from fossil fuels, and obviously with the new announcement from our leader that we're going to have more fossil fuels in the future, it's like go figure. As you can see, nuclear has played a very important part in the UK. Bioenergy, energy from waste. We got a dog going crazy. He's barking. So we've got bioenergy from waste, as I said, like that's from landfills, etc. Solar is starting to make a bit more of a dent, and others. So we can really do a lot more for renewable energy in the UK. But great news about renewables. This is absolutely amazing. Is the price is plummeting. We're talking about compared to how it was like 5, 10, 15 years ago. The price is dropping. So you can see here, we got 2010. to 2021. That's the main area I want you to look at in this chart here. And we've got CSP is concentrated solar. Then we've got onshore wind, offshore wind, and photovoltaic solar. And you can see here the percentage change in cost in 20 years. 88% cheaper to install a power system, 68% cheaper, 68%, 60%. The prices are plummeting, you know, so it's now so cheap. Renewables is the cheapest form of energy on the planet, and we have no reason to be investing more money in new oil, gas, or coal ever, you know. So this is it, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's money. It's control. It's the fact is like, you know, who pays the politicians? It's Rishi Sunak's wife getting, what, 1.5 million in shares? You know, yeah. I know. There you go. I like that so much you get a chocolate bar. There you go. So, the downsides of renewables, okay, this is a major problem, is it uses mined energy, and some of it we've got like cobalt and lithium mines, like cobalt mines in the Congo and Mali are a particular problem with slavery, working conditions. So everybody who's got a smartphone in this room probably has something that's come from a dodgy mine somewhere. So we need to be really mindful of this. I'll come back. Good man, second hand. Yeah, there we go. Chocolate bar. Here we go. Okay. So yeah, so what we've got this as well. So anybody heard of rare earth metals? Okay, critical metals, right? So there's only a couple of countries in the world that actually control them. And surprise, surprise, China's done the best job for years of controlling critical metals and rare earth metals. Reason we need them for combining different metals. So when we put them into wind turbines, it's actually a lot of them used for like the magnets, electric vehicles, some parts of solar and some other technologies. But we need to have more rare earth metals. They're actually not that rare. There's actually loads of them everywhere. But it's the mining is very difficult, and then the processing of them is actually very difficult as well. And when you do it, this is a town in China. This is like a big, massive city. And this is all the waste from the rare earth metals. It's actually toxic land, you know. So we have a problem. We need to figure out better ways of doing this. So we got some technical things that we need to overcome. The good news is that we're actually figuring out, like the R&D in renewables is coming on leaps and bounds. We're finding different ways of using different materials. But in the short term, we got problems. This is a lithium mine in South America, in Chile. And what you have to do is you have to put like the salt dry water out and leave it for a couple of years, and it kind of evaporates, and then you get lithium out of it, you know. But the demand for lithium is going through the roof. We have loads of lithium in the world, but the problem is actually the mines. So we need to quadruple the amount of mines, or even 6 times the amount of mines. And people say, oh, we can't do this, it's awful, absolutely awful. But compared to oil, gas, and coal is mining, right? So they use 500 times more mining than renewables would actually need if we wanted to do an energy transition. So if you think about it that way, and then once it's built, we can recycle electric batteries, we can recycle solar panels, we can even recycle now wind turbine blades, you know? So this is the future. Okay, part 2. Right, I need everyone to get some energy in here. We've all, come on. There we go. Right, who wants some magazines? Here we go. Here's some energy magazines to hand out. There we go. You want some chocolate? Who wants chocolate? Here we go. Who said? Here we go. There we go. There we go. So I got some magazines here from the Energy Institute. I went to their. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I'll take that one. Yeah, and I joked about super gluing my hands to the table at the AGM. It didn't go down very well, but I asked for some from literature for this talk today, and they very kindly gave me 100 magazines. So yeah. So they're quite interesting, lots of stuff about the renewable energy in there. So have a read. So, part 2.
Fergal, right. We got about 10 minutes of energy left on this.
Part 2, here we go. Right, first thing you need to do, you need to get a EPC. Once you get an EPC, you know how much energy you use, and it gives you an idea what you can do in your house. Most energy you use in your house is actually from space heating and your domestic hot water, okay? If you look at that, electricity is actually only a small portion of the actual amount of energy that we use. Everything's space heating and hot water. So what you need to do, if you haven't got one, get a smart meter. So start learning about how much energy you use, start using it, start realizing when you leave the doors open and the heating on that you're wasting energy, right? It's a bit of a no-brainer, really. If you got roof on the space of your house, solar now is really cheap in the UK, so much so you can do free solar. There's hundreds of new solar companies all over the place. Quite simple is you get a south-facing roof, south, east, west, and if it's unshaded or nearly unshaded, stick up solar panels on your roof, make sure it don't get blown away. Comes down, comes into an inverter, which changes electricity from DC to AC, usable electricity. If you've got a battery, the battery would sit here, goes into your consumer unit, you use the energy. Any energy you don't use goes back to the grid, and now you should be able to get paid by your energy provider for actually giving the energy back. If you got a battery system, you can store it and you can actually use it at night and save lots of money. To give you an idea, today's prices, this is just illustration purposes, 7.5 grand for a 4 kilowatt system. If it's on a south-facing roof and you use 70% of the energy, over on today's prices, you'd save about 730 quid. So the payback on a very simple system now in the UK is about 8 years. Okay, so if you do get it, get a couple of quotes from installers, compare them, get some references. There's some pretty bad installs out there, but there's some pretty good ones as well. UK output, obviously it's sunnier in the south, not as sunny in the north, but they actually work everywhere, so there's no excuse. Solar thermal, this creates hot water. Sun hits an evacuated tube. There's a glycol solution going around inside, goes about 200 Celsius, comes down into a tank. The tank then heats up your water, and the water then you use it. Really good. You can get free hot water for about 8 months of the year. You only need 2 of these on a property for 4 or 5 people. Works really well. At the moment, there's no grants. They got rid of the grants in the UK. Boo. Yeah. Next one. Heat pumps. Going to fly through this. I'm running out of time. Magic box. All right. I used to do heat pumps. Everybody goes, what is a heat pump? Essentially, it's a heat pump. It pumps heat. Right. It's a bit of a giveaway. You know. We got 3 main types. Yeah, okay. Shut up. I'll give you one afterwards. So I've got air source, water source, and ground source. Air source now is going to be the main type of heat pumps that we're actually using. Quite simple how it works. You get about energy from outside, from the air, water, from the ground. You bring it into a refrigerated unit. This has got a it's got a boiling temperature of minus 27 Celsius. It heats up. You get a bicycle pump. You pump up in the winter. Your hand gets hot. Exact same thing. Compressor. It compresses the energy, heats it up to 30, 40 degrees. It runs around your house and then goes back in, and it's a closed loop system. Works really well. So these are ground collectors, different types. This is an air source heat pump down here. These are the coils that you need in your domestic hot water tank. So you need to get a new domestic hot water tank. You can have underfloor heating. You can have a smart rad, which is basically just a radiator with an air fan unit that actually distributes the lower grade temperature. Works really well. Heat pump versus gas. Right now, they're pretty much neck and neck because the price of gas is so cheap in the UK, 10p as opposed to the cost of electricity. If that changes, then heat pumps are an absolute game changer. But yeah, this one, the amount of energy you save can be 50. But one here, it's 4 times more efficient than using a gas boiler in terms of energy and also carbon emissions. Lots of advantages, disadvantages. Main one is the cost. It's expensive to install, but once it's actually installed and it runs maintenance free for 20 years, works really well. Fly through the rest of these. You can use them for commercial retrofits. This is a property in Ireland, 108 bedroom hotel. They put in 3 big air source heat pumps. There's a swimming pool and everything. Really, really efficient. And we've got some gargantuous giant ones. Good old Denmark. I love Denmark. And this is 2 heat pumps, 48 megawatts, and it heats 17,000 properties. Right. So this is the future. This is what we need. We need some of these bad boys. So, home insulation. All right. This is the last one. This is the last slide, so I can probably slow down a little bit. Most important thing, the very first thing to do, you need to make sure your house is nice and warm and airtight, that you're not having leaky buildings. Best way to do is insulate the property. Your loft is the first thing you need to do, and then your walls. So about 60% of your energy goes through your walls and your roof. So whole house retrofit can anything from 10,000 to 40,000 if it's an external wrap or if it's an internal wrap. But the first thing you need to do is insulate, get double glazing, make sure you got some air tightness, and make sure your house still has vents so you don't get mold in the winter, and get it done by a professional. Oh, where's he gone? Oh no, there we go. So what can you do? You can take out your phones, you can scan this, you can go, there's a website, and everything, all the information. We got some beautiful people down here waving them around. Website went live today, 3 hours ago. Thank you, Michael. And it's got, you sign up. The whole idea is everybody has to pledge to do something. There's 42 different ideas, right? So there's no such thing as a free chocolate bar, our magazine, right? So I want everybody to go onto this, right? The Hitchhiker's Guide to Saving Humanity. Go through the 42 ideas. You have to scroll down, you have to make a pledge, and then it brings you to the 42. Gives you more information on the talk and more information on general things that you can do. Okay. I think we might be running out of time for. There we go. Scan the code. There we go. Oh, do we? There we go. There we go. Anybody want some more free magazines over here? And it's chocolate.
Questions?
Yeah. Hey, you want chocolate? Yeah. Question over there. This young man. I'm not sure if I call him young man anymore. Yeah, I'm trying to be nice to you.
Thank you, Fergal. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was a brilliant talk. I loved it. Loved your energy and really informative. And pitch for my talk. I'm in here on Sunday talking about how we can accelerate the transition. So I want to ask you, what are the things that we could do to really speed up the transition? Where are the key opportunities to speed things up in terms of the renewable rollout that you see in terms of policy, focusing especially on the UK?
Policy. So obviously funding is a big problem. We need to increase the funding. There's no funding available for solar thermal, which is an absolute disgrace. And it's complicated. We need to invest so much more money in national retrofit program for insulation. Like Insulate Britain got it actually 100% bang on. And the very first thing we should have done after like the war was like go and insulate all our properties, and the amount of energy we'd save is like massive. Big bottlenecks, the grid. The grid is huge, and it can take years to get a grid connection. So what's the point in building all these like big massive systems and you can't actually connect it into the grid? So we need to speed that up again. Education, everybody needs to get more educated. There's more information on the website. Read up about renewable energy. The only way we can tackle climate change is we have to go 100% renewable and low carbon, and we all need to like just become experts at it. And in fact, anybody who came here today and managed the whole talk, you'll all get certificates afterwards. Any more questions? Oh, we go.
Can you say a bit more about batteries? Because that's the only bit I haven't done.
Okay, batteries.
Are they good enough now?
Yeah. So
and also about using batteries and also putting your solar panel output directly into your hot water tank.
Yeah. So if you've got excess energy on your solar photovoltaic system, instead of the energy going back to the grid, you can get a heating device if you've got a water cylinder, and all it is a switch that will flick your water cylinder to come on when there's excess energy. So instead of the energy going back to the grid, you're using the energy to heat your domestic hot water. Works really well. Save a fortune. Pay for itself within a couple of months. Works really. And about battery technology. Battery technology is going through the same revolution that we've had with computers. It's just getting better every 6 months. Something else new is coming out. We've got salt batteries. We've got weighted batteries. We've got talking about compressed air batteries, plethora of whole things. But for domestic, if you're getting a new solar PV system and you put a 5 kilowatt battery on, it will save the energy that's been produced during the day, which would go back onto the grid, but you'd actually save that money in the evening. So if you're paying 30p per kilowatt of electricity, you're actually using that from your battery system, and it will pay for itself in a couple of years. So it works out really well now in the UK having a battery system. This young man here. Oh no, sorry, we got somebody. There we go.
Yeah. One of the questions I had is how much of this technology is actually built in this country? We have massive wind potential, yet how many of the companies are UK based? We could be exporting all over the world to promote renewables. Yet this government seems to be really hell-bent in not bothering investing in us building it, so we can have jobs, for God's sake, and we can then promote around the world. We sit buying other people's technology.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, 100%. Like the all those big wind projects you've seen that you're talking about, they're like huge Danish and Swedish companies and Chinese companies that are manufacturing all the solar. We don't have very many manufacturing plants in the UK. In fact, there's not to go too technical, but it's called IRA in the USA, is a $400 billion stimulus for the green economy that's getting matched by private industry. It's like $1.5 trillion. EU has stepped up the game. They're starting to do a lot of investing now to compete with America. China's even doubled down, is even doing like double the two of them combined. The UK is regressing. We should be investing our time and effort into educating people, into getting technicians, and looking at all this R&D technology and building these technologies at home. So 100% agree with you. Yeah, this young man here. You're next.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah. Oh sorry. Yeah. Go.
Sorry.
Do.
We've just had the Eco4 grant
Eco4, yes.
because we don't have gas.
Yeah.
So we've got solar panels. We've got a brand new. It looks like we could go to Mars in our hot water tank.
Yeah.
And an air source heat pump and everything. But where would you go to add in a decent battery? Because that doesn't come on the Eco4 grants. And also, like, where would you look for it as a domestic user? And also the hydro. We have a river right by our house.
Yeah.
But I cannot find a domestic hydroelectric person. I keep looking. I ask here, and they keep saying there will be one soon.
There you go. Go in the front here.
Are you one? No, we have. I'd have to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
We would have to use something like that system because it would have to come off because the river varies so greatly in what it produces. I have done quite a lot of digging into it, but I want to find somebody who will come and do it.
Try contacting the Centre for Alternative Technology. That's where I studied, and they do a course in hydro, and to see if they know anybody. You know, but
I could do the course.
Oh, you could do the course, yeah, and you could those ones you can build yourself. Yeah. Okay. Next question.
Great talk, Fergal.
Okay. Are we done?
I think
here we go. There you are.
A pink microphone.
It suits you, sir.
To quote the great Paul Whitehouse. To quote the great Amory Lovins, negawatts, neg with an N, much cheaper than megawatts, and insulation is always the best.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out that the energy to waste scam in the UK is a scam. The idea that local authorities collect plastic and then burn it for renewable obligation certificates and call it green is seriously annoying. And I also wanted to ask you, you mentioned the energy payback of solar power, solar panels. What is the energy payback of a gas boiler or a new car?
Yeah, well, to answer that, like there's no energy payback. Right, so it's a weird thing to like. All of a sudden, everyone goes, "Oh, what's the energy payback and what's the cost payback and what's the?" You think about it. You get your kitchen upgraded. Nobody goes, "Oh, nice kitchen. What's the payback?" Do you know what I mean? It's like, "Oh, solar. What's the payback?" No, this is the future. This is my children, my grandchildren. You know, we should all be doing it. You know. Yeah. What aboutisms? You know. Sorry, another question there?
Yeah. Great, yeah, thanks. Really inspiring stuff.
Yeah.
My question is, as someone who lives in a small flat in a city, so well connected, is it better for me to do this locally? We have no access to the roof for solar.
Yeah.
Or is it better to just go all electric boiler, buy our electricity from electricity, and outsource our greenness to a bigger provider in that way?
Yeah, no, absolutely. If you live in a flat and there's not much you can do, you can outsource it, get a electrical provider that gives 100% renewable, or the energy balance that they get is 100% renewable. And also then if you do have communal roof space and you got to share a freehold, you get all the freeholders together and see if you could do a scheme. Or what I've done personally, I've actually invested in some of my friends' roofs, so I've actually installed them there, and some energy co-op I've actually invested in there as well. So yeah.
Just before you move on, I'm doing a talk on Sunday at 3 o'clock on community energy, which is another go. So join me here at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, and that's how we know each other. Community energy. Oh, here we go. How you doing?
Fine, thank you. I just wanted to know if you know how long it'll be before V2G goes.
Before
vehicle to grid goes public, because at the moment there's a lot of trials where people that have got solar panels and electric cars that they're using their car as the battery and running their house off the thing. So that's great for people who've got it, but how long before it goes public? Do you know?
I have no idea on that, you know. So the thing is, but that's the way the future is going.
Yeah, because it just seems a bit.
Yeah.
If you're going to get an electric car, and that's a big battery that's just sitting in your front garden or on the road in front of you. But if you are going to have to buy a battery and then you find that you've got to get a car and you've already got the battery, then...
One of the things of like having smart meters, like the latest types of smart meters, the grid needs this information and they need to improve the technology and everything talking to each other. So that's the bigger picture of like the smart integrated grid systems.
I mean, I know they've finished the trials, or they've finished a certain one round of the trials of the V2G. I just didn't know if you knew anything more about
space.
It.
Yeah. Guy in blue, did you have a question? Yeah.
No, that is another young man here.
There we go. Very young man.
Very young man.
All right. Go ahead.
And I'm thinking of like getting maybe like a small council house or something because of my like disabilities. But I was wondering what would be the best measures to make my home as green as possible in the next few years.
Yeah, well, everything you've just seen just here. Again, I'm just going to do a plug on. You can go on, see the different technologies. Just here will give you lots of ideas. I've got a very short time, but like as I said, if you can do PV, do PV. If you can do solar thermal, heat pump. If you can't do any of those, as we're saying to this guy, just invest in community solar. You know, insulate, 100%. Okay. Any more questions? Oh, here we go. Yeah.
Hi. This is just a statement, really, and I'm sure you're more than aware, but if you don't have a hot water cylinder and you haven't got room for one, there are other options. The heat battery, Sun Amp heat battery. Yeah. So you can put that in instead. It fits in the kitchen like the space of a cupboard, and that's great for hot water. I get all my hot water from that, have done all year, so it's brilliant.
Yeah, so what you're talking about is if you had a heat pump, instead of having a domestic water cylinder, because you need a very big cylinder. A lot of places that you physically don't have the space for it. And what you can do is you can convert using a solid state heat battery. It kind of stores the heat, and then when you need it for later, it draws the heat from the heat battery. It's quite simple. Yeah. Okay, and there's one more question. There's there we go.
When you go up a really tall building and you look out and you see all the flat roofs there are, is there much saving to be made? You know, when like sometimes people grow succulents just on the roof, and then obviously that provides a barrier to the sun and also an insulation. Does that save much energy? Do you know?
Are you talking about a green roof?
Just the kind of green roof, with something going on it.
Massive amount. Yeah. It super insulates roofs. Yeah, it works really well.
Why is that not happening more? Any idea?
Well, some can be structural problems with existing roofs, but pretty much with the amount of roof space we have in the UK, we have ample amount for nearly half the housing stock to either get solar photovoltaic, and there's not enough space to get solar thermal onto our buildings, and we should be rolling that out. Our green roofs, and then you put solar on top. I'll show you a picture later of a house we built doing that exact technology. Are we done?
I think we're done. Thank you very much, Fergal. That was